On this day, another soup day, we are going to embark on an adventure, something I have never actually made before. This is tortellini soup. I had gone to Costco a couple days prior, and I saw their tortellini. And I was like, oh man, I haven't had tortellini in, gosh, I don't even know how long. So I was like, I have been on a soup kick, and I have seen recipes for tortellini soup. So I decided that I was going to get that tortellini and I was going to make a tortellini soup. So I looked at a couple different recipes and I got the gist of what they did. And it's very similar to how I normally make my regular tomato sauce. I'm just making it into soup. So with that in mind, I started off with an onion. And I had to check a couple of my onions because a couple of them were getting a little bit too old. This one was okay. So I'm going to take the time to peel it. And you're going to see me just kind of fast forward here because I think at this point most people know how to peel an onion. So I get that all peeled up. I'm going to dice it up and get it into my Ninja here. This is the same tool that I used to make my sausage, kale, white bean, potato, everything soup. Again, that soup is delicious. My fiance keeps raving about that soup. So definitely have to make that one again soon because that's like, I live in Florida at the moment, so we have like 8 months of hot, and some people they don't mind, and it's like me, I don't mind having soups when it's warm. You know, my house is air conditioned, so you know I'm not gonna sweat profusely while I eat it, but I will neglect certain things. I think, like, I can't remember the last time I made actual pizza, so I think we're gonna have to do that soon. I'll have to make some tomato sauce and do that eventually. But I've got my Ninja 13-in-1 hot pot looking guy over here. I had forgotten to plug it in, so you're gonna see me plug it in because that's an integral part of using that. So I get that all plugged in, and I'm going to get started with sauteing my onions. You're gonna see the sunlight get a little crazy in here real quick. There we go. A little flashbang of sunlight. So we're gonna get that pot going to medium low, and I'm gonna add my extra virgin olive oil. Kind of coat the bottom of the pan. You're gonna see Bella a lot in this video, just because of the difference in camera angle. I'm gonna add a little bit, it's about a tablespoon of butter. And while that oil is heating up, and there she is, my little supervisor. Alright, so we've got the onions going, throwing them in there. I don't want to brown them, I just want to get them nice and translucent, nice and soft. And this is where it gets a little interesting because Bella knows that chicken's involved now. She's gonna scent that out real quick. So this is just some leftover rotisserie chicken. And there's the sniffer, and oh yeah, it's chicken. We're excited. So I had gotten this from Costco, and this was the leftovers. And I mean, with tortellini soup, I feel like you can put any protein in it. I mean, I know it's basically a little bit more of a liquidy tomato sauce, but I think chicken goes just fine with that. So that's the leftovers from that. We picked it pretty well clean prior to this and left enough just for this soup. I apologize if you hear my dog hacking in the background. She's currently eating. And here she is, all excited, wanting some soup. Well, wanting some chicken anyway. So those are starting to get nice and translucent. They're nice and soft. I'm going to want to add some garlic to this as well. And I think I end up just using garlic because that's what I have on hand. Every time I've bought cloves of garlic at the store, they're not lasting. And I don't know if it's because we're getting the produce later or what's going on. So I've been doing garlic recently and it's okay. Every now and again, if I need to do like actual garlic, I'll pick up a couple cloves. And if I do, I just break them down the day I get them and mince them up and put them in the freezer. So this works. I want to say that was probably like 3 to 4 cloves worth of minced garlic anyway. Bella is very interested. So we're gonna add some flour. Make almost like a little onion roux here. I want to make sure that flour cooks, so I'm going to stir it up real good. Get the onion and garlic coated in that. Come back and I've stirred it, started to get brown, so I'm going to add my first cup of chicken stock. And you'll see me pour just about 3 cups of chicken stock in here. You could use vegetable stock if you have that as well. And then we're just gonna get that nice and stirred. Get that flour dissolved in there. And we're using that fire roasted diced tomatoes this time. I had gotten that from Thrive Market. I used to be able to get this at Costco. Not this particular, obviously, this brand, but they no longer carry it at mine. I just like the fire roasted. I feel like it adds a lot of flavor. So here, this is going to be about half a can of tomato paste to help thicken it up. I did not want a liquidy soup. I wanted it to be thicker than a tomato soup. So we added that tomato sauce or that tomato paste in there to give it a little bit of thickness, some more flavor. And you're also going to see me make an executive decision here after I put these seasonings in. So again, I season by the heart, so I'm putting in garlic, powdered garlic, and then I'm going to put in onion. That's not the onion, Stephanie. Here we go. Let's try that again. Here's the onion. It gets kind of clumpy, so I give that mason jar a nice good shake. Throw a lot of onion in there. I wanted this flavorful, and oh boy, this was so good. We've been loving this soup. Or I should say we loved this soup. And then a ton of basil because oops. But you know what? It was okay. It wasn't too much basil. It was still absolutely delicious. I think if I put less basil than that, I wouldn't have been happy. So that's the oregano going in. So I put basil, oregano, and parsley in there. And I honestly feel like if you're going to add these dry seasonings, you really have to give them time to heat through and just rehydrate a bit. Otherwise it just doesn't taste right. Than like doing like fresh herbs. So this is that little bit of pepper I've got left. It's still hanging on. We've got a little. Gotta get a new. I have since gotten a new thing of coarse ground, or excuse me, fine ground pepper, because I have coarse pepper for my pepper mill, but I wanted fine, so I picked that up. So I've added in a little bit of salt. So I've added in my pepper. I'm gonna give this a nice good stir, and you can see it's starting to get like pinkish in color. And this is my executive decision here. The little executive decision that I made was to emulsify another can of the fire roasted tomatoes. And I think this was a really good decision because honestly it just gave more flavor, that fire roasted tomato flavor that I really, really like. So my immersion blender, I'm getting my money's worth with that thing, I tell you. I use it a lot. So I do this off camera because there's no space here, but I have emulsion blended my fire roasted tomato, and I used the majority of it. I don't think I used all of it. Let me see. We'll see this together. I was just checking to see how much what's actually in there. There is measurements on the side of this cup. That's why I use it. And I want to say I used about half of it. So probably about a good cup, I would say, of this immersion blended fire roasted tomato. I'm going to stir that in. By now, it just really smelled good in the kitchen. Like I was getting hungry. You're gonna see me put that baking soda in there. That's just an old trick to bring down the acidity. I tasted the broth, and it was just a little bit acidic. You know, I did add that can of tomato paste, so that's, you know, some people add sugar. I don't. I feel like you don't have to go that route. You just get a sweet sauce. Add a little bit of baking soda, brings down that acidity. And I've diced up my chicken here and added that in to warm it through. It's already cooked, it's all ready to go. You're gonna see me add in this spinach. I had spinach in the fridge that needed to be used up. I already picked out a couple of pieces that looked a little bit bitter and wilted, so I was cherry picking the good spinach that was left in there. I mean, most of it was fine. It's just I wanted to make sure it got used because a couple more days and that would not have been fine. So quite a bit of spinach. I want to say that was like 2 cups of spinach if I had to wager, I guess. And then I'm just going to stir it in so it gets all heated through and wilted. More spinach. I'm going to add some iron. And then here we are. This is the Kirkland brand tortellini. And I'm trying to break it up because there were some big clumps of tortellini in there, and you'll see me just get the rest in there. Yeah, that is clumpy, but these are good. I haven't had their brand tortellini before, and I have to say that was a good tortellini. I don't like the dried tortellini, but these were yummy. And because they're just a cheese tortellini, I mean, you could make a pumpkin sauce for them and they'd still be really, really good. And then we're gonna go and shred down some Parmesan. I could have used my food processor for this, but I honestly only ever bring my food processor out if I'm gonna do like big batches of cheese. Like you've gotten like blocks and you know you're gonna use it and you're just gonna like shave them down that day. That's what I'll do, but yeah, no. A little bit of elbow grease and we got a bunch of Parmesan here. So that was about a cup of parm. Just gonna get what I can get off of here. My little IKEA cheese grater. It's been with me a while. Get that all mixed up, and then we're gonna add in that cheese here. You're just gonna see me do a little bit of cleanup. I try to clean my kitchen as I'm working because I feel like, especially after living alone for so long, you are the one that has to clean up your own mess. So I try to clean as I go, and you'll see, like, you know, magic here. It's all cleaned up because, you know, I'm cooking. But here we go, adding in that cup of parm. And then we'll get that all mixed so it's melted in there. The scale was out because I was going to make sourdough bagels, which I guess I can do in a different video, but because this is the soup video. This is the Soup Chronicles. So we're sticking with that. But this soup, let me tell you, I mean, I took it to work. I had it when I got home. I mean, this was just so hearty and delicious, but definitely something I would make again. Again, I had that half and half, little sniffer check there. And then I'm just gonna put a little bit in there. Not a lot. Most recipes that add cream, depending on what it is. If it's like a baking recipe, like, I won't use half and half in my pumpkin pie in another couple weeks here, but I'll use the actual heavy cream. But with soups, half and half is just fine. But look at that. It's making me want it again, if we're being honest. I got a bowl for myself and a bowl for my partner. And I was super excited. Because at this point, I was hungry. I think I fed myself before I fed him. And it's usually the opposite. I always make sure he's fed first. And he does the same thing. Like, whenever he cooks, and he cooks a lot, and it's really nice because he can cook. And I couldn't wait. It smelled so good. This one was delicious, and you should definitely give it a try. You don't have to follow my recipe exactly, but like I said, you can use sausage. You don't have to use chicken. You don't have to use fire roasted tomatoes. You can use regular diced. But thanks for watching, and I hope you're around for the next one.